Uh-oh, I just, there we go.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here today with you. And I am jacked up to have a very, very special person that I think you guys are going to learn a ton of information from today. Not only about success, but marketing and successful habits. And I am so honored to have the distinguished Karen Briscoe join us today. Karen is the principal owner of the Huckaby Briscoe Conroy Group with Keller Williams. Is recognized by the Wall Street Journal as one of the top 250 realtor teams in the United States. And her group has helped sell over 1,500 homes and over $1.5 billion in value. Billion, not million, baby, billion. She's the creator of the transformative 5-minute success concept and the host of the podcast by the same name, which I was a guest on recently, honored to be on. And her books, Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day, Secrets to a Top Agent Revealed, and Commit to Get Leads, 66-day challenge, offer a combination of information and inspiration delivered through memorable stories. And we are honored to have Karen Briscoe join us all the way from the DC market. How's it going, Karen?
Oh my gosh, it's great. And I love the fact that we're focusing on closers. You're focusing on no closers, and I'm focusing on real estate closers.
Well, exactly. And let's face it, there's really only about 5% of people that take action anyway, but there are specific things and habits and actions that successful entrepreneurs, whether you're investors, note investors, realtors, mortgage brokers, things that need people commit to have success. And that's why I was so excited to have you on to talk about, because I think especially with our Note Nation, we have a lot of realtors that get excited about the note business because it's a great way to find leads and future REOs or short sales. But there's a lot of marketing that goes into that. And I love that fact that you're part of Keller Williams, because we're in Austin, hometown for KW here. I actually used to run a short sale negotiation office out of their main corporate offices down south years ago. But what would you say right off the bat is probably, in your years of experience and closing over $1 billion sale, what would you say is probably the main keys to being successful for your reign of success?
Habits. I know that's not sexy or anything. I hate to break it to you, but it's the things we repeatedly do that are where success comes from, because that is where you will, the difference between a one-hit wonder or a two-hit wonder and a professional who achieves success over and over again, they have strong habits. And the most important habit, and I think from what all of the people I've interviewed on the 5-Minute Success podcast and all the people I've talked with, the most critical one of that is the lead generation, business development, prospecting. I call that commit to get leads. Mm-hmm. And what often happens with people in sales and entrepreneurship, it's really the shiny object syndrome, the squirrel phenomenon. They're always running after the next hot thing. And so the reason why you're great at what you do is because you've been doing it a while, and you just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And so that habit formation is so key to long-term success. It just is.
It totally is. And I'm a big proponent that you've got to go out there and avoid the shiny object and shoot some squirrels, as we like to say, so that you can be focused. Because, I've been teaching this note game stuff for over a decade, been in full-time real estate investor since 2004. And you're right. It's stay in your lane, trying to avoid, no wrong. It's great to be educated. And I love that I can see in the background, you got all the books. I even see a lot of the same books that I have on my bookshelf, which is great. And I think leaders are readers for a big part, but it's good to learn but you've got to focus on taking action, right? And it really comes down to, just like you said, those day in, day out habits, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of the success thinking activities and vision is what I talk about it. People have a vision about where they want to go and they think about it. A lot of people skip that middle step, the actions. There's activities in there that need to be done on a consistent basis. It's not just saying affirmations, to yourself in the shower. So there's and not just creating a vision board, but there's the activities that are in between. And when people develop it as a habit, then first of all, they can build on habits.
Yep.
It's a lot easier than reinventing the wheel every time, which is what so many people do. And then when you talked about all the books that I have, that's actually where a lot of my ideas have come from. I was, as often happens when people achieve a high level of success, a lot of people want to know how I did it. So I started speaking and coaching and training, and invariably people say, yeah, but I don't have time. I don't have time to read. I don't have time to go to training. I don't have time to get better at my skills. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So do you have 5 minutes a day? And everybody said they had 5 minutes a day. And I said, okay, that's why I wrote the book, Real Estate Success in 5 Minutes a Day.
Love it.
Because it's actually follows under Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law states that limiting and restricting time actually makes us more efficient and effective. And you know that. I mean, you getting ready to go on vacation or have something planned, you get really purposeful, right? I mean, you're doing what has to be done, right? So that's why limiting actually, it has more impact. The other benefit to 5 minutes a day is because a lot of training and information is tsunami-like. Mm-hmm. And you come back and you're going, okay, full of all these ideas, but what do I do first? And where do I begin? And so it's so overwhelming, you don't do anything. So much of paralysis of analysis. So the idea of investing 5 minutes a day, then you put one core concept into your repertoire, into your practice, into your business, into your life. And then it can be one of several things. Sometimes it's a domino. Sometimes it knocks over a chain of things. Sometimes it's more snowball where it builds, over time. And sometimes it's more like the pebble in the pond creates the ripple. So I don't really know which one's going to happen for you, but just do it. And building that habit. And there's a lot of research on habit formation. So that 66 days, which is the commit to get leads, that came out of research that's in the habit loop by, I don't know, you familiar with Charles Duhigg? He talks about, and there's a lot of it in The One Thing and with Jay Papasan and Gary Keller. You mentioned Keller Williams. So 66 days, why that? The first 3 weeks, 21 days, people are very evangelistic about their habit. They're like, just talk to somebody who got a Peloton bike or started a Whole30 diet, right? I mean, they're telling the world, they're so pumped about it. So about the next 3 weeks or 21 days, everybody's like going, really? I don't know if I really want to eat keto the rest of my life. Can I have a piece of bread? Or they're putting, they're hanging their clothes with their Peloton bike. And so they're going through this evaluation phase. And so that's what Seth Godin calls a dip. And I'm like, okay, power through the dip. Okay. Just keep doing it, because when you get to that next 21 days, 3 weeks, you start to experiencing the benefits of the habit. And so, but the truth is, to really achieve success long-term, you don't stop at 66 days. The 66 days is the habit formation. So the idea is to put these habits in place, and then your energy can be devoted instead of on trying to get yourself to do things that you should do. Your habit drives that. And so then your energy can be focused on being more effective, on covering more market share, or just, going and doing something you want to do. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's the purpose of the 66 days.
I love it, because I think most people have bought into the 21 days to build a habit, and that is not the key. Enough. That's just to getting the momentum going. And that's why you see the gym so full come January, but vacant come February.
Yeah.
It's with everything. Oh, 3 weeks. Okay. Yeah. But then they don't realize it's sometimes it's just a grind to stick with it. But you really, the 66 days that you can look back and really now start to see differences in whatever you're doing, building momentum, whether it's lead generating, working out, whatever it might be. I'm so glad you talk about that, because that's one thing I harp on all the time, what we do over here. Give yourself 60 days to reaching out to banks or doing whatever it is just to find that success.
Yeah. So, you said 60 days, a couple of months, in the real estate business, to get a lead and get it to settlement, you're really at least a 90-day lead time. And your business has got long lead times too. So a lot of it's planting seeds, a lot of it's, building up for ongoing success. But at the same time, that's where then continuing the habit afterwards, right? That's why I said, it's like brushing your teeth. You're not stopping at 67 days. You just know that you've built the habit. So then, because what a lot of people do is they do that, either the roller coaster business, right?
Yeah.
Or they do that just, stop, start. That's a lot of energy.
It is, because it takes so much energy to get that ball momentum rolling, to get away from your bad habits. One of the things I've always told people or investors as they become out to be an entrepreneur is like, listen, you've been, you're 40, 50 hours a week. You've been beholden to somebody as a boss. But if you're getting out to do your own thing, your freedom can either be a benefit or it can be a strangulation with that much freedom. So like you said, making sure to do specific things every day. I'm a big proponent in time blocking.
And time blocking works for a lot of people. I also have found activity blocking. Yeah. And activity blocking is you choose you set a certain number of contacts you're going to make a day, touches, whatever you want to call that type of method of lead generation. And the benefit that has lots of benefits in that sometimes with time blocking, I find people figure out all the things to do other than actually doing the lead generating. And when it's very self-accountable. Yeah. You write down the 5 that you've done every day, or 10, or whatever it is that you've deemed that is the level of business development, lead generation, prospecting you need to do in order to create the business you want and live the life you want. So tracking is a proven way of success. And when you track, what you measure improves. But when you track, you'll then know where your business is coming from. You'll have a better sense of, recreating what works, because time goes away. Are you right? I mean, you could say a certain amount of time, but if that certain amount of time didn't achieve the results you wanted, you can't reproduce that time. You can reproduce the contacts you made or the type of prospecting you did. And so that's why I'm a big fan of activity blocking. And I like setting a number and then doing that for 60 days and seeing, does that generate the business I want? And if you're got a tsunami business coming in, you're going, wow, I don't need to do 5 a day. I could do 2 a day, whatever. But if I see 5 a day isn't enough, I could step up the game and make more. There's different cycles, of businesses and everything when you need to do that. But you'll learn what level of activities are going to get you. The other thing I love about it is, for me, I love taking time off to travel and to do personal development and other endeavors. And so I will set a certain number of days off every year. So then I'm working inside the days I do work, and I can do what I call front load. So right now I'm doing front loading the whole month of August because I've got a lot of travel planned in August. And so that gives you that. You can't do that with time, right? You can't time load ahead of time. I wish, wouldn't that be great?
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyhow, it's a strategy that it's really worked well for me and a lot of people that I've worked with.
Awesome. Where are you planning that? Where are you traveling to?
So I've got a mastermind group that I'm a part of that's meeting in Cleveland in August. And then my daughter and I, for her birthday, have a trip to Switzerland planned. Nice. Yes. And then I'm part of a high-level women's real estate agent mastermind group that's then meeting right after that. So it's like back to back to back. That's the way life is, right? But the point is that I know what level of activities generates the amount of business that our team operates off of. I'm still predominantly the rainmaker. And so I can front load that time so that when I'm gone in August, I know I'll come back to September to business. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Whereas the other way around is you may come back to September and go, okay, I got to really double time it to catch, back up what is the pipeline, if it's gotten dried up.
Right. You don't want to come back home to crickets.
Yeah, that's like, oh man, there's nothing worse than that.
Now, I want to ask you a question here. We've seen across the country, markets rebounding, markets doing really strong. I mean, you're in a pretty stable market there that hasn't seen a lot of ups or downs versus other parts of the country. I always find it interesting because everybody wants to be a real estate investor. Here in Austin, we've got a pretty stable market. We've got a flush of mortgage brokers, a flush of realtors. But when the market turns south, people that don't have these systems, don't have these things in place, leave like rats on a sinking ship. Can we agree to that?
Absolutely. In fact, in some ways, it's kind of one of the benefits, right? I mean, I guess you can always find a positive to everything. And that's the positive, is that, everybody, their brother, who thought, yeah, so anybody could be a real estate agent. I'll do it too. Or a mortgage broker. So yeah, now it's interesting. You said that the Washington, D.C. metro region, which they call the DMV, believe it or not, which I'm like, really? Don't people know that they don't want to go to the DMV? Want to be in the DMV? And I'm like, okay. So, the Department of Motor Vehicles is not like in people's high levels of happiness. We're really impacted by a lot of things. And so, for example, sequestrations or government shutdowns, and closings of bases and things like that. So it's not like we haven't had market corrections over the last couple of decades. We do have a stable economy in the sense that, as a general rule, we have this big employer called the federal government, and all those ancillary industries, contracts and everything. It is an expensive market. Yeah. And that's where it can be more challenging for the investor market. That being said, I mean, I just bought my husband and I just bought an investment property. So there's still good values. You really have to know your numbers and know your market segment. So there's still always opportunity. I always say there's always opportunity. It's how you're going to look at it.
Exactly. It's a bit different than it used to be when you used to have the dollar days. Back over 15 years ago, I think it was roughly about that. Dollar days. Now it's all the artsy district of the area for the most part.
Yeah. So it's funny. Yeah. Like people are like, oh yeah, I wish I would have bought. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, okay. So you didn't, but that doesn't mean you don't buy, right? Because it's the proverb, says that when should you planted a tree 20 years ago? The next best time to plant trees. Now, I mean, you should have bought real estate in 2009. Well, you didn't. So, but it's next best time is now, because what is now happening in our market area, and I think in the United States, I could speak pretty broadly, is that since the market correction, the recession, the market correction, I believe we've been basically recovering. Right. So it means we haven't really appreciated in a decade, because we've been recovering what we lost. And so if you look at the fact that there's a lot of still opportunity for future growth and for still appreciation, then I still feel like there's still plenty of room. Now, there are some areas that are getting overheated. I mean, you could say that about anything, right? So you got to look at the fundamentals as to why you're investing and what you're buying, and what market segments you are. And it's kind of like anything. I mean, if you're going where everybody else is going, then you're probably going to be overpaying. So you're going to have to use some strategy to come up with looking for, the what maybe everybody is not going to. It's kind of, I talk about Wayne Gretzky and his quote, to skate to where the puck is going. So like if you skate to where the puck is right now, then you've missed it. Yep. You got to be skating to where it's going. Right? I mean, if you're going to buy at National Landing right now, where Amazon 2 headquarters is, I'm like, okay, well, you missed that boat. Yeah. Right. I mean, really. But if you want to say, okay, well, where are some other places that have great value? What a lot of people aren't recognizing the fact is that Herndon, which is out by Dulles Dulles Airport, it is going to be part of HQ2. I mean, they're going to have as many people there as they're going to have at National Landing. So you just have to be smarter. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. You should. I always still firmly believe in real estate. It's the only thing that's real. It's real. You can touch it.
Well, that's the thing, is it's not going to go up and down by opinion or somebody changing the stock market or anything like that. You're not on speculation. It's something there. You can touch it. You feel it. They're not building any more land. No. I'm a big proponent of going outside of the major areas a little bit and finding in the path of progress or growth. We've seen that in Austin, Texas, a lot of growth taking place, and people that bought outside what used to be a flashing stoplight 10 years ago. It's we say spaghetti bowl for the most part with highways and things like that here in the Lone Star State. But that's the thing. So many people have knee-jerk reactions. I'm a big proponent. I know that you are. You've said it before. You got to plan out what your focus is. You got to plan out some things. And I'm being a part of 2 masterminds in August. I guarantee it's probably been a big part of your success over the years. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And what happened is, as often happens with many people, is I achieved a certain level of success on my own. I mean, I'm smart, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Really, then a lot of people hit ceilings, and I did too, of what I could attain on my own.
Right.
And that's when the benefit of getting the wisdom, the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich mastermind is obviously proven success principle. I find that I'm in several different kinds of mastermind. I'm in one with real estate, which is, my profession and my field. And so that is really very valuable. I also like, though, to get into masterminds with people in other industries and professions, because Jeff Hoffman, who is one of the founders of Priceline, he calls it info sponging.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see things that are happening in other, and he'll even just read magazines that are like not related to his industry at all, or watch a program or whatever. He's very much wanting to see what's going on in other areas. And so that's how he actually came up with the idea of Priceline. So he saw that commodities like bananas have shelf lives, right? Well, he's going, what has more of a shelf life than a hotel room? Once the day is over with, and the night's over with, it has no value, right? Even the banana you can make into banana bread. So the idea is these masterminds from with more broad sectors of people that are entrepreneurs and sales professionals and people in other industries. And I find that to be it blows my mind away. And I start seeing things in new ways and new ways of doing things. And then the connections and relationships that happen too are very valuable as well.
Oh, I totally agree. There's a big conference that I love going to in San Diego every February, early March, called Traffic and Conversion Summit. And I always go out there. It's all about digital entrepreneurs and online traffic and how to convert that into leads and business. And I've been going for 6 years now. I'll have 8,000 people this next February at it. And I always get 1, 2, or 3 nuggets out of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I come back, I get oversaturated.
Yeah, that's tsunami. Yeah.
That's tsunami, as you say. But trying to focus on just 3 nuggets that I can put to work almost immediately. And it's helped me just grow exponentially with that aspect. But it's people that aren't all in the real estate. I'm a very niche-y thing in buying distressed debt. I think we can all agree to that.
Yep, you are. You're
we're small. We're a small group of freedom fighters here, making America great again, one distressed borrower at a time. But you learn from being open first and foremost, going in with an open mind, and I'm a big believer that we can learn something from everybody that we come in contact with. Not just in our local community, but especially outside of community masterminds. So many things, people are doing so many amazing things that can transfer across industries, or transfer similarly, or overcoming obstacles that we're all dealing with issues, right?
I think that oftentimes the tunnel vision, the incestuousness of everybody doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, all of that happens in industries. Real estate's not unique, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Not unique in your profession as well. And so when you get outside, sometimes I find it's easier to see what's going on in somebody else's business or life, and I can see what they're doing wrong, and I'm like, oh dear, what am I not seeing? And sometimes people can reflect back and share back, and that's another beauty of masterminding. But I would agree about the sticking with 3, because I do find that it is a common phenomenon where you just come back with so many ideas, and then you have this, implementation overload, and then nothing gets done well. And so, but it's looking for and I think also it helps you see, back to the Wayne Gretzky quote, it helps you see trends. It helps you see where things are going, because, there's a first mover advantage, but there's also a second mover advantage, right? I mean, you want to not necessarily be the one that creates the trend, but you want to be in the trend while it's still, has a lot of opportunity in it. By the time the bandwagon, everybody else has figured it out, then it's that happens with a lot with investors, right?
Sure does. Like you said, everybody likes to jump on board one specific style or one specific area or one specific tactic, and they don't cross market. They try to focus on one thing and rely on it. Like what's been big. Oh, we'll mail out foreclosure postcards, or we'll mail out yellow letters or go door knocking. Yeah, those things can work, but you can't focus on just one aspect of that thing. And sometimes you've got to change what you're doing as the market evolves to be more effective what you're doing. And I love what you're saying about that. You're learning from other people's ideas, and then coming back saturated from events and being able to see the trends and knowing when to make that jump, not waiting till the very top of the trend when the least amount of profit, but at the bottom or on the rise of the trend, right?
Yeah. Warren Buffett says in looking at these things that he's talking about investors, you either can do it on the way up or you can do it on the way down, depending on what it is you're looking at, right? Or you could look, but if it's on the other way, you could look at it when it's correcting, you catch it before it hits the bottom, or you see it as it's rising. Mm-hmm. And those are where the opportunity zones are usually. If you're right in the middle where everybody else is, you're probably, swimming with sharks. The water's not blue. Let me tell you, that water's probably red.
Yeah, exactly. Now, as you've grown in your business, did you have a mentor that helped you kind of get on the right path earlier on or throughout your business at some point?
Yeah. So that was, I recognized very, very early that this thing that called seller real estate, other people had done it before, success leaves clues. And so I went to the top. I had to have been the top agent in our market area because she was number 10 in the nation at the time.
Wow.
And so I just said, I just love to learn everything you got. And then I was a great student because I ended up becoming her top producer within a couple of years. And then she asked me to become her partner. And I would say that is a great strategy for everybody, right? I mean, that there's so much, I know there's some, bootstrapping and some, the entrepreneurial, cowboy and everything. And there is obviously wanting to always a desire to be creative. But then there's a lot of things that you can learn from other people. And you being from Texas, my husband and tells the story of, you can either learn from reading and training, coaching. You can learn from other people's mistakes, or you can piss directly on the electric fence. Right? I mean, which one do you want to do? I really avoided the third as much as possible. I mean, not that I didn't learn, but it was painful. So I've become wiser at the years and said, okay, other people have done this before, and so let's learn everything I can from them. And then from there, you innovate and look for, because it's always changing. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. Everybody's like, oh, I'm waiting for it to go back to the way it was. And I'm like, well, first of all, it really wasn't that great. I don't know what you thought was so great about it. But also, if you sit around waiting until things come back, the industry is always, as it should, right? I mean, it's our profession. Your industry is always changing. You have to always be evolving and learning and growing. But that's good because stagnant markets, I mean, think about it. I mean, what's the worst market to be in? The one nobody's doing anything, right? I mean, wouldn't you rather than something happening, some activities happening, maybe it's, well, you don't look at foreclosures as a negative activity, but when we were living through the short cycle and foreclosure stage, we were like going, this is not fun.
Yeah.
But at least it made the phone ring. I mean, I have to say, I mean, I think back, the phone rang more then than it ever rang. And so I think, okay, that had opportunity in it too. What doesn't have opportunity is when nothing happens. I mean, just think about the Dead Sea. The reason why it's dead is because nothing's flowing in and nothing's flowing out.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't say any better for that. It's always better to have the phone ringing or doing something versus sitting around twiddling your thumbs. Growing up, my dad, hey, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
You sound like Ray Kroc. Oh, man, that's a classic.
Yeah, exactly. mentors, I think, are big. Every successful person I know has a coach, has somebody, a mentor that they follow up. They're part of Masterminds. After we're part of a couple different Masterminds as well. We have one for our note business. But the thing is, you always looking forward. And we've talked about, and I want to ask you this, where do you think the market's going in the next 6, 12, 24 months? Yeah, I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but with you, I know, right? Don't we all wish? Where do you kind of see things? Do you think things keeping growing for a while, or market corrections taking place and property values dropping or things like that?
So what I see are tales of two markets, and it could actually be tales of several markets, but our market still has a tale of two markets. So we have the best of times, we have the worst of times. So then it just depends on your perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's a seller's market, it's the best time for sellers. If it's a buyer's market, it's the best time for buyers. And that's all driven by supply and demand. So I am a huge proponent of knowing my numbers. So whatever market segment I'm looking in, working with a client or myself, I am very numbers driven. And then I look for trends and I look for which direction it's going. And if possible, to go to get there a little bit before everybody else does. So I think that generally in our market area, it's a great market to be a seller. It's predominantly a seller's market, except for some segments. The upper brackets, it's definitely a worst of time for sellers and the best of time for buyers. So there's interest rates, historically low. So, but I see that there are some signs, like when I told you that, we have recovered in our market areas. So, and I've seen that in others, and we're starting to appreciate we're peaking prices. And when ceilings are breaking on prices,
right,
and that is when a sign that it could be getting out of line with affordability and other indicators that help people know. So that is something, because the last time I just went on a listing appointment with the seller, and the last time those peak prices occurred was 05, 06. Well, you know what happened after that. So if history repeats itself, it's been known to do that. Now, the difference between this and that was that had a 5-year straight of double-digit appreciation, total, unbridled growth that was not sustainable. Right. This has been recovery. So that it's still different. I mean, there's no way to say this is an apples and apples comparison, but we are seeing some signs of froth and overheating and irrational exuberance, multiple offers, escalation clauses. All those can start to be the beginning of the top, or maybe the top, which means there could be. And I actually like more gentle corrections. I'm really not a huge roller coaster fan of like crashing and then going up and crashing, going up. I'm like, so I actually think it's better for markets to have corrections, natural corrections built in. And so I think there's probably something on the horizon, but I can't, and that crystal ball is not telling me what that is, other than October, fall, fourth quarter, third quarter, late third quarter, fourth quarter, the most historical times of those type of events. So if you're waiting around, I guess I would wait till and see if that happens and make, but we're having our best year ever in over a decade. So,
wow,
we sold double the real estate this year as last year.
That's awesome.
No, I know. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm really happy. I'm like, that old shoe drop thing, I mean, it could be a good shoe, it could be, but it can also be like, oh, I didn't think about that one. That's the thing about unpredictable events. You can't predict them.
Sure. Now, are you working primarily with retail clients or working with investors, or a mix of both?
So I am predominantly, a residential real estate agent for retail, for their own personal purchasing and selling. But I have a number of investor clients, and I invest myself. And my son does commercial shopping centers in the Washington, D.C. metro region. So he's pretty astute about what's going on in those markets. It's interesting. You mentioned about the fringes. That edge city is something that they focus on. And in the suburban shopping centers, their focus is on the things that you can't buy on Amazon. Right? I mean,
But that's so true. So many retail stores are struggling because people don't want to get in the car and fight traffic. They want to be able to sit there on their phone, in their pajamas, on their couch, and order what they want and have it delivered directly to them. So we see that happening here in Austin quite a bit, where those brick and mortar locations that have the stuff are struggling because people are ordering it, predominantly online. I mean, you look at Toys R Us; they're trying to come back, but doing more things online versus their large big box stores.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if you think about it, you're going to take your dog to the vet. You're not taking him to Amazon, and you're going to go get your nails done. You're going to go eat out. The banking still needs a lot of brick and mortar location. There's still the car washes, and I mean, there's still plenty of retail suburban shopping center uses and needs. But so focusing on the things that you're not going to get delivered in a box.
Yeah, more of the service oriented aspect of things.
Yeah, and that segment is growing.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have seen quite a bit. We've seen more debt pop up from different banks looking to see if we were willing to buy in some of these shopping centers or older malls that haven't evolved. Their tenants haven't evolved like they should have, and then things like that. So we're seeing a lot of that stuff come across our books and some other interesting things. I saw a converted mall that was turned into a grow house just recently. It came across.
Okay. In what state was that? Florida?
Los Angeles, actually.
California, yeah. Yeah, so, a lot of spaces are getting repurposed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a great, they say that when we have driverless cars, what are they going to do with all those parking garages? Well, data storage takes a lot of space and it has to be conditioned. So all that concrete could be conditioned. I mean, they have to be creative, but there's like I said, there's always opportunity. So driverless cars come and that changes, that need for parking. But then there's other needs that come into the marketplace. And so if you're an opportunist and you just are looking info sponging and you're looking to where the puck is going, those are just some key strategies for being an investor.
Sure. Now, I have a question for you. What was your opinion of when Keller Williams announced that they as a company would be buying a lot of individual real estate, along with Zillow opening up brokerages or looking to buy residential real estate across the country? Any opinion to that?
There's wherever there's money to be made, there's going to be people trying to get into it, and I think that that has always been the case.
Yeah.
It's just we and I'm saying that collectively, there's always going to be a need. When we got back to the whole service thing, I still believe there's a need for service and customer service. Now, how that's going to be delivered, I mean, you just think about other disruptors to the industry, and that will still be delivered. It just may be the formatting or the forming, maybe a different kind of delivery, but the people are just going for opportunity, right? And so I look at it as an opportunity for me to improve my knowledge, skills, and abilities. And I find that my business has actually grown. The more there are in the business, the consumer oftentimes recognizes that there's value in the experience and knowledge. Because I mean, okay, we've also had like Purple Bricks has come and gone.
Yep.
The iBuyer system with them. And so sometimes it can be fads, that it's just a flash in the pan, and is it sustainable or successful? I mean, obviously some of these big companies are smart and they know what they're doing, or they may know something, I don't know, but I'm just saying that they're opportunists and I respect that. And I am going to look for how I can create my value proposition. Right.
Love it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing, is being able to still stand out, experience, and be able to offer the services. Because that's one that I think the big thing that is so great about what you're doing, what you've shared with us, is you're prospecting and reaching out not only for new business, but obviously servicing your previous clients in an effective manner. I think a lot of realtors that we've dealt with that haven't been around, that are coming and go out, they're constantly not really servicing their other clients, their older clients, and I don't mean by age, I mean people that may have bought a house a couple years ago. They're not really following back up with it, except for maybe the first of the year when they're in their call blocks.
The thing is it really, the amazing thing about staying in a profession is that if you are good at what you do and you consistently do it over and over again, it's like launching the rocket. Once the rocket's launched, then you can just keep it in orbit. And that is the benefit. And so if you're not doing that, I would encourage you to do that, because there is a lot of benefit in this profession in particular, but I think yours too, because you think about who are more likely your relationships that you've made, that you have return and repeat business, right? And so you can spend the energy going after new business, which there should always be some of that, because there's always going to be attrition, right? But at the same time, and you have to think about it. I mean, I sell people's houses and they move away. I mean, most of my clients leave the market area. So I have to constantly be looking for new relationships and new business. But at the same time, the business that is the referral business and, because I sold the house down the street or in the neighborhood or more community building or that kind of thing, that is where you really can grow. And you've done that too with your community building. I mean, you said you help one banker and then he's telling you the other banker. So these principles are not, everybody can do them.
Exactly. They're not brand new, but it's just that extra 5%, or maybe the extra 5 minutes just to visit or to ask for the referral, or to talk to other people in the same block you're selling houses on. Just a little bit extra habit goes a long way, especially when you do it on a consistent basis. I mean, if you did 5% extra each day, it adds up to a lot of good stuff when you look back after 30 days or 66 days too.
Well, I call it the connect, to build, and grow, because everybody does lead generation, commit to get leads. And then everybody has a process to take those leads through to get into settlement. And I call that consult to sell. Well, what often happens is people get on this hamster wheel. So like you were saying, they just churn it. They're only as good as their next deal. And I'm like going, wow, that's going to get exhausting after a while. And it also means that you will be out of business as soon as you do your next deal. Mm-hmm. Right? So why not do the principles? Why not put in place the things that will connect, to build, and grow, so that you can create a scalable, sustainable, ongoing enterprise, so you actually can go out of the country and have a life you love, while you also have a thriving business.
Exactly. And eating some Swiss chocolates.
Yes, I'm going to be doing that when I head to Switzerland with my daughter. Yeah, because that's what happens with people. That's why there's such a high incidence of burnout, is because they work till they drop, and we're in a profession, that doesn't have a 401k, even though if you're going to put all your faith in that, then you're probably putting your faith in the wrong thing, or Social Security. But I'm putting my faith in me. I am my best asset. Do you realize, if you want to talk about assets and investors, invest in yourself? I mean, if you think about ability to create wealth, I have tremendous ability to create wealth and value. Mm-hmm. And so investing in myself is back to creating, building something that's scalable. Because you mentioned, about mentors and training and coaching and going to seminars and how that breaks you through the ceiling. You go to the next level. Just think, if you just go to the next level, I mean, you could just cut a lot of time. You could cut a lot of energy. You could cut a lot of hassles. I mean, that next level could be what could take you out of that hamster wheel of life, which so many people spin in.
I totally agree. I'm a big believer that we all, we're all here, but if you want to go from where you're making 50 grand a year to making 100 grand a year, you've got to develop your mind and grow into that position. Otherwise you're going to lose it. You may have a flash in the pan and hit it, but then if you don't develop those habits, that mindset, you're not going to grow to that next level, being $1 million earner or making $1 million. You've got to grow into that position with skills, systems, and then also develop, learning to delegate. Because if, a CEO,
leverage. Yeah, you got to leverage.
You got to leverage yourself in your time.
Yeah, I think that was a Jim Rohn quote that you'll never rise higher than what your own personal development is at. And I mean, if you think about it, it's obvious, because if you're not capable, if you don't have that capacity, then how is your business going to have that?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when you said, well, you're going on 2 masterminds, I was like, yes, I should probably go on more. I mean, in fact, my team loves it when I go away, because they're like, we got so much done. No, really, you come back, inspired, empowered, right? Don't you? When you come
always.
Back? Yeah.
I mean, I always come back with something learned and something I can implement, and it definitely drives the creativity and productivity for that quarter or 6 months. I mean, we just got back. We took basically 3.5 weeks, and we took a transatlantic cruise, and we spent basically 3.5 weeks away from the office. And everything, our team did an amazing job. I came back fresh, recharged, with some great ideas for everybody out there for what we're doing, not only here in our office, but our other students and Note Nation peeps out there listening and listening to the show and taking action. So you've got to, I love what you said about how you schedule your days off. How many days off you said do you schedule on your calendar each year, roughly?
Well, I usually take 3 international trips a year. So that's, 10 days to 2 weeks each. So that's 6 there. And then I do these 3 masterminds, which basically end up to be about a week a year. I mean, a week for each. So that's 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So and then, family trips and a ski trip and all of those things in there. So I look at that as being, I talked a little bit at the beginning. I also wrote a book called Flip Time, Love Life, because
yes.
What I found is that people will achieve a high level of success. They'll be very productive. And then they'll look around and go, well, is that it? And if you love the life you have, or you create the life of your dreams, then you should, to do that, I find you need to flip the time, and you do that first. So you may remember Abraham Maslow and the hierarchy of needs. You're supposed to work your way up the pyramid, and you start with your basic needs, your physiological needs, and your safety needs, your security needs, your esteem needs. And then you do the things you love, your self-actualization things. And I'm like, no. It's the other way around. You flip it. If you're doing what you love, aren't you the most productive? Yeah. I mean, think about it. Mm-hmm. Are you productive when you're grinding and you're going, oh my God, when's this day over? I mean, that's why people who work for other people, they're like waiting for the Friday and the clock, right? Because they don't love it. But if you love what you're doing, and if it, a lot of people call it zone of genius and flow and all these things. But if you really love what you're doing, or that what you're doing is for the purpose, so you can travel and do the things you love to do, you will be inspired you'll do your most creative work. And by creative, I'm not thinking like, painting or music. I'm thinking about creative ideas,
right?
How to lead generate, get people, meet the people that you can do business with. That's where your creative energy comes from, is when you've been revitalized. It's not when you're tired and burned out and, can't wait for the day to end, right? I mean, we got it so backwards. So the idea is you flip the time and you put that first. So I put it first, all my time off, all my masterminds, all of the training. And then I'm like, okay, so I am going to be inspired. My productivity is going to be inspirational, because I'm going to make it happen, because I'm going to go do the things I love to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it's a Robert Kiyosaki, Dave Ramsey kind of thing. Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first, but pay yourself first with time.
Yes.
Because, it really is the most, I mean, you can make more money, but you cannot make more time.
Hang on a second. Huge nugget there. And we got to put that cash there as well too for you, because that's a great thing. Now you've got a 7-day kind of quick start program that you wanted to talk about a little bit too. Share with us and our listeners about that.
Yeah. So the 5-day or 5-minute success principles to get you jump started. So you can join the 7-day quick start, which we have for your community. And the idea, again, back to habit formation, it's to jumpstart you. You're still, you're to be a true habit, you're going to have to put it in place into your business and your life. But it will give you an idea of what it is. And then obviously the real estate success in 5 minutes a day and commit to get leads. 66-day challenge are all available on Amazon and on my website. And then I have a 66-day challenge online course for the Commit to Get Leads. So if you really want to commit and make that happen, that's one other resource that people could access on the website.
Awesome. Is the website the best way for people to get a hold of you, Karen, or no?
5 Minute Success is the website, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then of course the 5 Minute Success podcast, which you've been a guest on. So be sure and check out when Scott Carson's coming up. But we have a great mix of guests, predominantly real estate and ancillary industries. At the same time, kind of back to the idea of info sponging, I find it really powerful to hear how other people lead generate and build their businesses. And so it really has a great array of guests that you can tap into that too.
Yeah, I love the podcast, guys. Go check it out. I love how you break it up into those 5-minute segments with allowing people there, and asking the questions and having people being direct to give those nuggets out there. It's a great podcast. Honored to be a guest on there. Honored to have you on here today. You've delivered so many great nuggets and insight to what builds success and how to be $1 billion buyer, seller, and earner out there. So honored to have you. And I want to say, hey, when you're headed out to Cleveland or you're headed to Switzerland, have a great time. And if you make it down here to Austin for the next KW family reunion, they have it down here, let me know. We got to get together, and I'll show you around some good margaritas or Mexican food places around here in Austin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand you're on a radio show in the DC metro region. So if you got anybody in this DMV that has real estate needs, have them reach out to me. I'm pretty Googleable.
There you go. Googleable. That's a new word now, isn't it?
I just created a word, Googleable. I Google me and you will find me.
Yeah, exactly. Karen Briscoe, guys and gals, check it out. Like I said, amazing realtor. She runs the Huckaby Briscoe Conroy Group, HBC with Keller Williams. You can Google that and find them on there as well. But Karen, thank you so much for taking time on your busy schedule to join us here on the Note Closer Show. Go out and make something happen. We look forward to seeing you at the top. All right.